We are.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Hey there.
Hello,
Welcome
hello.
to the podcast.
Josh, you came in
Hi,
good. That sounds
everyone.
good.
Hello.
Oh.
Yeah.
Real low.
Hello,
I like the setup. I said it last week. I'll say it again.
It's so much better.
I know, it looks way better,
Doesn't it
too.
look better?
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah,
better,
in the
too.
edit, it was way better.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Good.
Because people's
I feel I
heads,
can
it
do
really
a
was
good,
like
good
a-
I know,
head
it's so
swivel
silly.
without like
So silly.
looking
I mean,
over.
I could look at you guys and get a nice, like, 3/4 profile. Not
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I get that 3/4 profile.
Nice.
I can't. I'm not in the seat this week where I can just stare at Matt, though.
That's
It's
okay.
true.
You could spend the rest of the day and tomorrow and the day after that.
Ooh.
I'm seeing
we
the
work
heart
together.
link connection though,
There it
so
is.
you're right
There it
there.
is.
It's
a lot of
important.
days. Anybody got anything?
I have
Like
something.
an Edelweiss?
What do you got?
What is your sticker, Matt, on your computer?
Oh, that is, if you've
Oh.
seen The Burbs,
Of course.
Tom Hanks,
Yep.
right? You know the scene where they find the dog finds the bone
Yes.
and they're like, "This is Walter." No. Yeah, my sister got me a T-shirt. One of my amazing birthday presents. I should say this. One was a T-shirt and of the Burbs, and it was this shot of like most of them. And the caption on the bottom of the shirt says, "Satan is good. Satan is our pal." From the movie.
Is
And
the
in
other one Matt Damon?
No, it's Rick Dukeman is one of
Oh.
the actors, and Tom Hanks is in that
Oh.
movie.
Oh,
And
Tom Hanks.
another thing she got me was this like 5x7. It looks like a charcoal sketch
Like this print.
print of the scene in Money Pit
Okay.
where the bathtub falls
Through the floor.
and then the camera
Yes.
pans up and Tom Hanks does that like laughing where he's like
Uh-huh.
that.
Where he's
It's
just
a-
going crazy.
It's a picture of that, and it's hanging and it framed in our bathroom.
That's
right now.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
Those
if
are good
you've not,
gifts.
If you've
Yeah,
not
those are good
seen
gifts.
those movies, anybody
yeah.
listening,
Yeah.
Money Pit
Money
and
Pit.
The Burbs.
And the Burbs. Those are
They're
Burbs.
classic 80s Tom Hanks.
Are you a big Tom Hanks guy?
yes. Yes. I
Who isn't? But-
grew up. Growing up though, it was like
Yeah.
Tom Hanks was comedy Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
It was like
That's
Mhm.
true.
Money Pit. There was Burbs. There was
Uh-huh.
Big. There was Joe versus the Volcano. Splash. He was in.
Yeah.
Man with One Red Shoe. There's a really old movie with Tom Hanks, John Candy, Rita Wilson from like '82. It's called Volunteers.
Okay.
The premise is Tom Hanks is like a graduate from Yale who joins the Peace Corps to escape like gambling debts.
We need a movie list
It
from
is,
you.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and it's
We
like
do.
it's really old. It's
Yeah,
a
that'd be
great
great.
old Tom Hanks movie. It's really good.
Well, I swear to it that I saw Tom Hanks and when we went in April to Laguna Beach and we were walking
Oh.
the streets. It was one of those things where like I couldn't talk. I heard his voice and I looked up and I said,
Woody?
that's Tom Hanks' voice.
Woody.
Yeah, right. Right.
Oh,
And
man.
and then it was like we looked at each other. We made eye contact. It was like, you know who I am. I know who you. You know who I am. And then we just kept walking. And I said to Blair, "That was Tom Hanks." He's like, "Where?" Like, he's off like looking in the storefront.
Right.
I said, "I know that was Tom Hanks,"
I
and we
know
made eye
what I
contact.
saw. Nice.
Well, that was the movie that he met Rita Wilson, right?
Which one?
The one you mentioned.
Volunteers.
Volunteers.
I'm guessing that must.
And
be.
then they got married in 88.
maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they've been together. They're still together.
Tom Hanks, if you're listening to
Sleepless-
this
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you saw me in Laguna Beach,
Yeah.
let me know.
I mean,
At Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Come do some TM with us.
right.
Tom Hanks.
I mean, he's
I
almost.
bet Tom
certainly-
Hanks does TM.
Yeah, I was going to say, I
You
bet he
think
does.
so?
I bet.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
almost certainly not listening to this, but
Well,
Hey,
that's
don't.
all right.
Yet.
You never know.
Yeah.
That's true. You know
I'm
what?
saying
Yet.
we'll
Yeah.
send it to him. I got his email.
Send
Yeah,
it to
there we
him.
go.
Tag him on all the socials.
Yes.
All right.
At
Tommy.
Tom Hanks.
We're just gonna start tagging Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
There is gonna be a Tom Hanks hater that will.
Oh,
That
somebody's
will-
going to comment something
There's
ridiculous,
always-
and then we're going to have to erase it.
I don't know. I feel like Tom Hanks is kind of one of those universal American characters that like everybody loves. Like he could run for president.
No, it's not true.
He's too
No?
liberal.
I don't know. I'm not up on the whole thing happening.
Coco
And
circus people that are like the aliens in Hollywood. You
But
know?
I think they like Forrest Gump.
I
probably.
think that
Right.
that's true, and I'm telling you, there's a contingent of people
Yeah,
who
you're right.
perceive Tom Hanks, and it's heartbreaking.
That is heartbreaking.
It's
I mean, he
heartbreaking.
made Band of Brothers. Like,
and I'm not
you
even
know?
like a huge like celebrity. Like I don't.
Me neither.
It's just not a thing for me to be like, oh my god, like
I care so much about
I
what they
appreciate your art the way that I
Yeah.
appreciate anyone who creates art's art.
think. Yeah.
And I'm like, really? You're gonna say something bad about this man? Like,
Yeah.
come on. There's so many
crazy.
other obvious things we could be talking about.
It's true.
That
There's
could
a
be
lot
better.
of worse things to talk about.
I mean, if he really did something shitty, then he did something shitty, and we'll talk about it.
I doubt
But
it.
Until then, I'm gonna keep looking
I
at these little
think-
crystal balls coming up in my mason jar, and
I think Tom
TM
Hanks is
effects.
one of the good ones.
yes,
Yeah.
I hope so.
I hope so too, right? Wouldn't that be like so?
I don't want to
crushing?
hear
I know.
something bad happened in the
Seriously.
past. If he's undercover bad guy, I
know.
don't want to know.
thanks.
Well, I did want
It'll
to
come back.
say, in the spirit of the season
'tis the season.
and pop culture, it's the time of year in our house where we go through Halloween movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
This is the time.
So essentially, right after the equinox,
Yeah.
it's fair game. We can start watching Halloween movies. And we watched The Craft.
Oh, I
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
my first time. I had never seen it.
1996.
I haven't
Matt
watched
had
that
never
in
seen it.
forever.
Matt had never
Never
seen it
until now.
until 2 days ago.
Light as a feather,
Yeah.
stiff as a
Yeah. So anyone who, and then I had this beautiful memory of a year ago, we were in Costa Rica doing the 2-week immersion there at Imaloa, and we had a movie night, and we all together watched Practical Magic, and it felt like a slumber party.
Aw.
It was just the entire, all of us that were on retreat together, we got in one room. They brought out couches for us and pillows, and we were just lounging, and they projected on this huge screen on the wall, and they made gourmet popcorn with nutritional yeast.
Oh,
With-
thanks.
And
Let's
then
go.
and mocktails.
You can always count on Imaloa staff
for sure.
for all of the
I mean,
things.
there's the whole scene in Practical Magic where they're doing the like margarita dance. So we had
That's the part
Margarita
of the movie
mocktails?
I hate
Yeah.
the most.
Matt doesn't like impromptu dance scenes in movies.
Oh.
I feel you.
Well, I recently said we're gonna come over, and that will be because you have the perfect kitchen for that.
We do.
Yeah,
Because
around the
there's an
island.
island.
Yeah,
But can I defend myself?
Sure.
sure.
I am not against dancing. I'm not
It's
like
true.
a town in Footloose.
Not like
It's
the
just
dad
when
in
it-
Footloose.
Grumpy.
The dad
Yeah.
in Footloose. It just sometimes seems so contrived and forced.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not like, when it doesn't feel genuine. And this really hit me. We watched The Big
The
Chill.
Big Chill.
You've seen that movie in a while?
Not for a
They've
while.
never seen that movie.
Big
Tiny
Chill? Who's in
Yeah.
it?
William Hurt, Tom Berenger.
This is a boomer movie.
Glenn
Nope.
Close,
Yeah,
right?
you've
This
never
is,
seen this
Nope.
movie.
Nope.
This is from like the 80s, right?
Yeah,
It's
no.
like
Early 80s.
Oh, I remember I was going to say something about Forrest Gump. But before,
Okay.
the premise of the movie is they're a bunch of old college friends that get together for a friend's funeral,
Mhm.
and they like hang out in the house, they like reconnect, and it's like that kind of movie.
It's a nostalgia fest.
But there's one
Mhm.
part where they like, finish eating dinner and they're starting to clean up and do the dishes, and like someone puts on a record and they're all like dancing and then putting them drying and putting them away. I'm like, please stop trying to have fun right now. It's like you're really trying hard to make. If we all stopped, if we all
Fake
stopped,
fun.
if we all stopped trying so hard, we would
Trying to
having
have
a
fun.
lot more fun.
I feel you. Okay.
Sometimes I have to try, and then it happens. You know.
I imagine
It's like
for you
laughter
though,
yoga.
Sabrina,
Yeah.
that you don't have to try very long
No.
for it to become 100% authentic. Like,
Right.
Real fun.
I think sometimes in movies, I think this happened in the movie Mermaids too, with Cher. There's a scene that also
First
felt,
movie I remember of my life.
These references, I just want to say. These
I
are
was
the
way too
funniest,
young to-
oldest
I
references.
was way
If
too
anyone
young
is
to remember that
younger than me,
movie
they're gonna
with
be like,
Winona Ryder,
none
right?
of
Was
them.
it Winona?
Not a single reference.
you know what, Josh? I
Wow,
don't think
up in the
anyone-
tower.
I don't think anyone in our demographic is younger than you.
That's true.
I
I
think
think you're right.
generally
I think you're right.
There are age.
I might be the bottom of it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about it.
You're a
That's
you're a
good.
youngling in this
That's right.
scenario.
I'm just like, what?
What was that movie?
From the 80s?
Yeah, it's like the force, the fake. You don't like the fake.
Right, the fake. That's
That's-
all.
yeah.
I mean, if it can be done and feels like genuine, then it's great, and I love
Yeah.
it. But sometimes it just seems like we're trying too hard.
I guarantee that any dancing that will happen in our kitchen will be authentic.
Yeah.
Sure.
What
That's
would you
good.
say
That
about
line
Forrest
there.
Gump? What?
Oh, silence.
What line?
I was gonna say that line there. It's something about trying too hard. I've been reminding myself of that with all the things. You don't have to try so hard.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
even TM meditating, you don't have to try so hard. And that's
Yeah.
so that's a good reminder.
It's helpful.
It is.
Yeah, it is very helpful.
Yeah.
Before we move on, though, the Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
we've decided that we're gonna rewatch Forrest Gump.
We are.
Really?
And then what we're going to do is that we did this on our own podcast. We
Mhm.
did Mutual Victory Theater, where we just watched a movie we haven't seen in a while and like talked about it. We did The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
I love that movie.
So we broke that one down. The next one we're going to do, I've decided,
Forrest Gump.
is Forrest Gump. But not only are we going to talk about it, we are going to rewrite the story, outline or like just the beats,
Oh.
but for our generation.
Okay.
So not like a
Uh-huh.
greatest hits for the
like
boomers.
from the 80s, 90s.
Greatest hits for like
I love
Gen
that.
X. So like when would it
Yes.
start? Who would he run into? All that kind of crap.
Right. What political
great
things
idea.
would be going on?
Then the second best part will we have to make the soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack is that movie.
Right.
It's the whole
so
thing.
like
That's
what
the whole
are the
point.
Yeah.
Gen X bangers? for the
Can you name
soundtrack?
one song from that movie?
my God,
or is that-
every-
I can't. What is
yeah,
it?
Fortunate,
Fortunate
Son. That comes
Son.
to that first.
No.
Right out of the
Uh,
gate.
I'm
Yep.
s-
Every
trying to-
song. It's
trying to
like
hear one in my
Blown
head,
in the
but-
Wind, I'm pretty sure is in it.
Yep.
It's
Mm.
it's like every popular song from the like 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
I
that
mean,
was
well,
like,
like
killer.
it's almost
I
like
would know it if I heard it. I bet.
speaking of the Big Chill, it was kind of the same way. That soundtrack.
Yeah.
My parents had that soundtrack, so I'm
Mhm.
like, I know all these songs, like they were that famous. So it's
Yeah,
like a lot of big
it's
hits.
like the boomer soundtrack
yeah.
of like the hits all the way through. You know, really. I mean, because he meets Elvis in that movie, so
Right.
Hound Dog is in there.
Hound Dog,
Um,
Land of a Thousand Dances, Fortunate Son, Rebel Rouser, Walk
Yep.
Right In, Blown in the Wind,
Blown in the Wind.
Mhm.
Can't Help Myself.
Yep.
See, I
Mrs.
don't know.
Robinson.
California. I knew California,
California
Dreamin'
Dreamin'.
had to be on there.
Yeah.
Do you know that Tom Hanks
Nice.
like funded the movie?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that it was running out of money and like that they were gonna like close shooting on it, and he like believed in it so much that he put like $500,000 into it of his own
Wow.
money, and then like
That's
made
surprising.
so much money
Right.
off of
My
it.
favorite story is the story of where Forrest Gump's voice came from.
Oh yes,
Have you
yes,
heard
it's
that?
it's in the documentary
Oh
too.
my God,
good.
it's so
Yes.
cute. It was like
It's so good.
they found the young boy
Yes.
who was going to play young Forrest.
Mhm.
And they were, I get what they were talking about, trying to get him to talk
Well-
like Tom Hanks.
Well, because they hadn't found adult Tom Hanks Forrest's voice yet. So he's
Yeah.
like, Tom Hanks, I think, said, well, why don't I talk to the boy that plays young Forrest and like
Oh wow.
try to model
Match
or
his
mimic or
voice.
match it.
That's
right?
really interesting.
And so they tell the story. You have to do it because I can't do the voice. Where
Jedi.
he's talking to the young man, and the young man, he's like, "What does your father do for a living?" And he goes,
Yeah. My father makes grace. Oh,
and then
Cool.
and
like,
Tom Hanks is like,
"Tell me
"There's
more."
the voice. There it is."
my daddy makes grace. Yeah, and then
I
it's
feel
like,
you gotta like pucker your lips
Yeah.
or something of
Yeah.
this
And
nature.
then
Oh,
Grace.
it's so good.
just says like, tell me
Jedi.
more, and then he would like pick up on all
Jedi.
the cadence and all that stuff. Yeah,
So good.
it's pretty
All
funny.
right.
That's not what today's
We're not
about,
here to
though.
talk about
Oh,
pop
I'm
culture
so
films.
excited for today.
Wow.
Today, I feel like I have just been blowing hot wind
Mm.
towards everyone for months.
Mhm.
And then now finally you guys are like, I can talk to you about it because you have done this practice too. I mean, up till now, or up till at least maybe the summertime, it was like, this thing's awesome. You got to try it. This thing's awesome. You got to try it.
Yeah.
Now everyone's on board. I'm a pioneer,
And it's so
you
interesting
are.
for me, like,
trendsetter.
you're a
Uh-huh.
pioneer.
That's right.
They've just been doing this for 50 years. At least.
So what the practice is transcendental meditation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about transcendental meditation. And, you know, it's interesting because we talk about a lot of practices here at Yoga
true.
Farm, and we tend to not have like a prescribed guru lineage practice that is like the end all be all. So, you know, I just want to say that at the beginning, like we're not telling anybody that this is the thing for you to do.
Yeah, we have not gotten enough money to do that.
we haven't
No.
gotten any money to do
Penny.
that.
None.
And what we can do, which is what we always do, and that is speak from our experience with any practice that we're diving into, and to speak to, there's 4 of us here that do it, and the individual experiences. So how different it can be depending on who is doing it and all of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm excited because I've done a lot of meditation in my life. I've been meditating for a long time, and forever insight meditation was my jam.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a style of meditation?
Yeah, it's Vipassana.
Okay.
It's Vipassana. It's like a Buddhist.
Only I asked because I think I have the app that's
There's
the
an app,
Insight
yeah.
Timer.
Oh, yeah, Insight Timer.
Yeah.
I
That's
didn't
what
know
I've
if that
been
was.
using.
So
Yeah, it's like where mindfulness came from and like all of these more like secular ways of going in, even though it's originally a Buddhist practice. So Vipassana is freaking hard, and you can go on retreat, and there have been moments in my life where going on Vipassana retreat brought me to like the next level, right? So you're meditating all day from basically sun up to the time you go to bed, except for when you're
real?
eating meals. Yeah. Sitting on a cushion, sitting up on a cushion, cross-legged. You're not supposed to move. You're not supposed
That
to make sound.
Seems insane.
It's
Just
insane.
From the
Was
sheer-
anyone in a chair?
Not when I was there.
you know,
I can't do it.
Josh is like,
Can't do it.
I'm over here like I'm ready, and I feel like we're like similar. We're like, yeah, meditation.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet Josh be into this.
I
And
would
then-
love to
and
do
then-
that, but
Yeah.
not if I can't
I
sit
mean,
in a chair.
and this,
Yeah.
we're talking about 7 to 11 days of this total silence. You're not allowed to bring books. You're not allowed to bring paper. You're not allowed to bring a journal. You're not allowed to bring anything.
You had me at silence though.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
silence.
like
I
a-
mean, silence.
Sounds like a dream to me.
And the first time I did
Can't
it,
even imagine.
it was both dreamy and torture at the same
Torture,
time
yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
I was teaching.
It's walking that line.
I was fresh out of college. I had 3 children. So like, wait, nobody's going to talk to me for multiple days. This is amazing.
Yeah.
One of the Vipassana retreats that I did, the entire Radiant Warrior set mapped out in my brain.
Sweet.
Wow.
Like I didn't know that's what it was at the time. Like Radiant Warrior wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
So cool.
But I was like, because I couldn't write and I couldn't read. And then you're not actually supposed to do yoga, but I would go back to my room and I would have been sitting all day. So I'm like, Jesus, I'm not really
stiff,
tired.
yeah.
I've just been sitting with my eyeballs closed. So I start stretching and moving from like one pose to the next pose to the next pose. And I'm like, this is it. Like it just clicked. And then I was like, all right, if I can do it again tomorrow, because again, you can't write anything down. So that's where that whole set came from. So
Cool.
you can get to a state of flow. You can get to a state of bliss. You can. And there are a lot of hurdles to get there. Often you want to run away. At one point, I think I was begging to clean things. I was like, can I just clean? Can I clean up?
Can I do something other than this? Yeah.
As sleep, wash the windows. And they were like, no.
No.
Like if you come back and you do a second one, we can maybe give you some like volunteer tasks to do. But no. I think day 3 or 4 of my being trained in how to do transcendental meditation, I was reaching the level that years of Vipassana meditation.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I was like, you
Jump the line.
got to be kidding
Matt.
me. You know, and there was a little part of me that was like, well, maybe it's because I did all of those other meditation techniques first, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when our students have huge experiences in rebirthing
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, I've been going to therapy for 20 years and I couldn't reach this level of clarity and experience that I did in one rebirthing practice. And I'm like, hold up.
Right.
It could be both and working together, right? Like you dealt with the mind and now you're dealing with the body pieces.
Yeah.
So I did tell myself that story until I took the course, The Science of Creative Intelligence, which explains how transcendental meditation works in your brain.
Really?
And then I was like, oh yeah, I didn't need to do all those other things.
So it's now October. I was trained in May.
Yes, you
So
were.
what's that, like 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
5 to 10, 7. Honey, when you were trained, you did this in like the summertime.
July.
July,
Mm-hmm.
September, October. So 2-3 months.
Yep.
Josh and Sabrina, you finished your training 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just started October 1st, which
Right.
to me, of course, is like, oh, that's so symbolic to be like, I just was like, yeah, this is good timing.
It was.
Right.
It was perfect timing.
Just
that's for sure.
screams of
Mm-hmm.
serendipitousness.
It
October
does.
1st.
Nice. So I want to hear from Josh
Nice.
first. Josh, tell me what either preconceptions or what you heard about TM or knew about it before the training.
Well, I definitely had heard. I had heard good things about it, but also never looked. I meditated as well through. I learned in my teacher training. Really, I was already doing it using Insight Timer when I was living in New York City, just on lunch breaks and stuff, to escape my 80 phone calls I had to make every day. And but then learning some techniques, I was just so excited I've never taken like a formal meditation course, like where
Yeah.
it's just meditation, no yoga, no anything else. And so I was just so excited to see like what could be different.
Right.
You know, like what could be different? It's meditation. Meditation is meditation, you know, like it's like we're going to all sit here, right? Close our eyes.
How many different ways can we
Right.
do this thing?
Yeah.
You're right. Let the thoughts come, let them go, you know, like whatever. And at first that is sort of what it was. I was like, okay, like reinforcing some things I know, like definitely. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely, it's confounding, you know, like at first, because it's like, what different thing did she say to me that is different than what I've been told in the past?
Right.
Like that made me go so deep immediately. Like it really clicked immediately. And so it was like going into it, I didn't have really any expectations on the payoff of it, but I know you loved it. And so
Right,
I had that, like, I know that was, and as someone who, you know, you have a great perspective of like the every person coming into things like for us, you know, like on anything that you try out for us at Yoga Farm. I feel like you're able to give us such a real opinion on it.
Yeah, perspective.
And
He's a skeptic.
Yeah.
and because you are a healthy skeptic, I think. Like you have some
I
healthy
love that.
skepticism.
A healthy skeptic.
That isn't like crippling to you or like doesn't let you enjoy things. Like you're not like a curmudgeon or anything, but you definitely are like, like, you know, like, which I appreciate. I think that there's some healthy, that we all need some of that.
Well, I think definitely the path I've had so far, I've been the most, I guess, vanilla as far as like yoga practices go. Like I knew what yoga was before we met. I'd done yoga before, the typical like stretchy yoga, but it was always a physical practice, and that's really all kind of it was. I even kind of tried to learn about some sort of meditation things from my students when I would teach high school because of just, you know, they needed it. Their nervous systems needed it more than, I mean, as much as the adults. So I had some experience, but it wasn't really that pronounced in my lifestyle or my day-to-day, right? So
So the way you described it to me was so, I think really it made me want to try it.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
like where you were like, I sit for 20 minutes and I wake up and it's like I'd napped for an hour and a
Yeah.
half or like had one of those like amazing naps where you wake up and you're not tired. That's what you said. That was how you explained it to me the first time. And I was like, oh, sick. And then I just never thought about it again. I was like, all right, cool. And then we got invited to do it for PD and it was like, it was really, I mean, I'm so grateful. at this
Professional
point.
development for
Yeah.
those that
Oh,
are
yeah.
like,
Sorry.
maybe curious.
That's right.
well, I will say,
Work slang.
but,
Yeah.
what you said about how quick it was for you to kind of drop into a, like I didn't feel like there was that much of a learning curve as
No.
far as like here's our teacher walking us through how to do it a couple times, and I felt even maybe the first time after the ritual, I felt like, wow, that was a really deep practice, and I, you know, don't think I could have done it on my own or like without any sort of, I don't know. I feel like it was been harder to reach that level of meditative state on my own or by myself,
Totally.
knowing what I know, or you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabrina,
Yeah, I would agree with Josh in the sense of like, I'm like, Matt's really into this. I was like, so if Matt is really into something, like I want to know more about that
Yeah.
because I feel like I always respect your opinion in the sense of like, you would tell us if it's hogwash.
Yeah. That's true.
Yes,
so
you
the,
would.
the fact that,
That healthy
you know,
skepticism right there.
yeah, exactly. The fact that you were enjoying it and you felt like it was beneficial, I was like, all right, I could do that too. So,
Well, and it takes a bit
yeah.
to blow his socks off, right? Like, I mean, that's what I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I've been trying to get you to do, you know, like you went through some spurts of doing Sahibi Kriya, and there
Yeah.
were certain things that you'll like dip into and then come out of and dip into and come out of. And you were like, this is a thing. And you were so immediately committed to it twice a day for 20 minutes. And I was just like, what is
you.
going on? Like, what is going on? Because it does take, you're not one to just be like starry eyed about the newest thing that you've learned about. You know, you're always gracious and curious and open. Like, tell me more about this thing that's lighting you up. But you're not like full on subscribing to it, like right out of the gate. So yeah, it's like when like hearing your experience with that, I was like, there's got to be something to this.
well, here's
Right.
one part of it that is probably because of my kaphaness. So Hebe Kriya, which I dip in and out of, is a very physical practice and activity. So doing that every day, like
It's a little different.
you know, there are times when I would do it. I mean, I think two or three summers ago, I think I hit 30 some odd. I didn't get to 40 days in a row. Mid-30s, I felt amazing, but that was very hard to do. I can sit in silence.
I mean, that's why I like
You don't need to ask me twice. I will do that. So I think that was part of why it was easier. But again, there's the challenge of meditation where it's like, okay, you can sit, you can be quiet, but what is your brain doing, right? And that's another thing I'd like to hear experiences of, like, how are you finding the thoughts that come up during meditation? Have you had does it frustrate you, or are you just like, nah, it just is, and you kind of roll with it, you know? Like, honey, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do I think?
Yeah, tell me about your thoughts.
Sometimes they're a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
That was good.
There's some strange moments. I might as well just share it, because why not? What are we here to do?
Well, I will say that we have a text thread going on. We have a Slack thread, right?
Thought
Yeah.
bubbles. Yeah.
Where we're what are we calling it? Our thought bubbles?
Yeah.
Our
It's
TM.
like TM thought bubbles.
bubbles.
I had
TM
t-
bubbles.
Very
I have
random. So
I have
I'm
stuff to
interested.
add.
I haven't heard yours, Jeannie, so I'm
You have stuff
interested.
to add.
I forgot that it was there, and if I remembered, I would have added to it already. But, well, I'll do both. I'll tell on the podcast.
Okay.
And I'll add it just for...
So a lot of times
The
my
record.
thoughts are just like a thing I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And what has felt really nice is, at some point in the training, I was trained at a different time, obviously, than the rest of you, but I imagine it's all the same. I was told something to the effect of, like, if a thought comes up and it's an important thought, you can't lose the thought. That might have actually been in my class, now that I think of it, not meditation training. So if a thought comes up in the middle of your meditation, you don't have to, like, stop what you're doing, come out of it, and write it down, which is what you would do in mindfulness meditation or in Vipassana. You would open your eyes and you'd write the thought down to kind of discharge the thought. The methodology behind TM is different, and it's the awareness that, like, your mind will direct you where it needs to go. And so if that thought is an important thought, you can't actually lose that thought. And the moment that clicked for me, the thoughts, the to-do thoughts that come in, they easily go away. I'm like, I'm unwilling to hold anxiety around losing this thought or thinking I'm going to forget this thing that I just remembered. But then I did have this moment where my mind, like, completely went to this place of, if I lost all of my hearing. Because sometimes in meditation, when I go deep in meditation, it feels like I don't hear anything. Like, it feels like I'm sinking deep underwater.
Yeah.
And sounds get fainter and fainter, and I am, like, someplace else. And then, of course, my mind pops in to be annoying. And it's like, what if you go completely deaf? I am already 50% deaf. I have no hearing in my left ear. So my mind spun out on that for a moment and was like, oh, if you're deaf, these are all these things that you can't do. And, like, what is this like? What is that like? You need to learn sign language. You won't know if your farts are loud.
I think you would.
and what do you do as,
That's what I think
as a
you
person who
I
can't
have no comment.
who can't hear? Like, you're just rolling the dice, so you can't even gauge, like, did anybody hear that? How loud is this room? Can I fart safely and nobody will hear me?
On a not unrelated note, I had a friend one time that taught at a school for the deaf, and she said that, I asked her about it. I said, what's it like? And she said, there is so much farting
They just let it rip.
all the
Because
time.
who
They don't
cares?
know.
Because who cares? Yeah.
And this was like teenagers. Like, this was like a high school type
Oh,
scenario.
that's a lot of farts.
That was the first thing she said. That the farts are
Just
almost
be you.
endless.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I still maintain that. Now I'm going to try this out, or at least take note. I think there is definitely a sensation or feeling that correlates with volume.
Oh, without a doubt, there is. There is a. You
Right.
know if there's a loud one or not. If you've ever had a loud fart, you know if you've done a loud
Because
fart.
how many times? I mean, geez, I'm just thinking about how many times with my friends where it's just
God
like,
help
guys,
me.
get ready.
Get ready. Yeah, you
'Cause
know.
You know.
Help me.
Here it comes.
'Cause you
Yeah,
know,
right.
yeah.
I agree with that. I
See what
agree.
you started.
It would be no
see where you
problem. It would be no
started.
problem.
I'm just being transparent about meditation thoughts,
Transparent.
okay?
Fart.
And this is a very real thing, you know. Sometimes my thoughts go to like a feel. I can't even say my thoughts because it's not like a conscious.
Right. It's not a thought. It's just like there. It's just like
It's like a wave that washes over, and I feel so happy. I feel so overwhelmingly grateful. And I'm not thinking I am grateful. I am happy. I feel this. Oh, this thing that makes me happy, this thing. I just feel it sensation wise. And then I come out of it too. So it's a lot of like ebbing and flowing for me.
Well, you know, to what you said on, you won't lose a good thought. You know,
Yeah.
or like a thought that's important. I think Stephen King said something like he doesn't really carry a notebook around because a lot of writers like how a little pad and pen or something. If they got something and they jot it down, he doesn't do that. And I think he said that if it's a good idea, you'll remember it, and if you forget it,
Probably wasn't a good idea.
Wasn't a good
Yeah,
idea.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that I've been on immersions, Kundalini immersions, where I have that moment of bliss where I've done all of this work and this movement and this mantra, and then I'm in like Shavasana, and that wave comes over me, and that bliss wave, and I start laughing. And when you're at those things, like that's okay, you know, like that's okay.
That's what
It's
for.
just like that full bliss moment of you just laugh, and it's like a laugh that I've only experienced like a handful of times. However, I will say that when I practice TM, that is quite regular and quite regular for me to experience that. So I think that says something to be able to experience that moment of bliss where that wave washes over you or through you, and then, you know, it happens, and then like you said, it goes. But for me to previously experience those moments, in a sense, I do a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of
Takes
work,
longer. Yeah.
a lot of presence. It takes a lot. It takes a while.
It's a process. It's a
And
good thing.
it's happened at least 3 times throughout, you know, my TM journey, which is quite short. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can experience that same. I've experienced that same wave that washes over, and doesn't just wash over during the meditation.
Mine happens after.
Throughout the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Throughout the day. And I have experienced that specific sensation post Aquarian sadhana, which is like a 2.5 hour practice.
Yeah,
Exactly.
say,
Two and
no
a
wonder.
half hour 5 a.m. scenario. And that doesn't work. Like, I can't be like, I'm going to do a 2.5 hour Aquarian sadhana every single day. My lifestyle doesn't allow for that. Whereas TM being 20 minutes first thing in the morning, 20 minutes
Sometime.
at the halfway point in your day, whatever that is, you know, it just works. What are you experiencing, Josh?
Oh man. So I love hearing other people's experiences because I fall into like a for real lucid dream, like where it's like a scene that makes no sense at all. You know, like absolutely no sense, and it comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I'm in it, and I'm like, oh, I'm in this scene, like just like in a dream, like where you're falling asleep and you're getting all of a sudden you're in a dream, and then you're like wake up all of a sudden, but my brain keeps bringing me back, you know, like, and my thought is like, oh shoot, I'm supposed to be saying the mantra.
Exactly. And then you just go. Then
Like
you go
it's like
back
I'm
to
in
your
this
mantra.
dream, and then like I'm like, oh,
There's my mantra.
oh yeah,
You know what's
this isn't
funny?
where I was.
I
You
was
know,
just thinking that we haven't actually described what TM is.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
just been calling it TM meditation. So this style of meditation, when you're trained, you get a mantra and you repeat that mantra quietly to yourself in your head. And then if and when thoughts bubble up in your brain,
Yeah.
you
Go
direct
back to the
yourself
mantra.
back to the
Back
mantra.
to the
mantra.
And the goal is
Yeah.
to just go back to the mantra. So that's what the practice
And I believe
is.
like Kundalini yogis that are listening, or those that have practiced meditation before, you might be like, oh yeah,
That's
like,
what
we've
happens.
done
Makes
sense.
we've-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Totally.
We come back to the breath, or you come back to
Exactly.
Satnam, or
Yes.
so. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, it's not, and that's what I meant by like when we had the first class. I was like, okay, like yeah, that's
Right.
like, that's what meditation is.
Nothing-
Like,
nothing-
right? Like,
nothing new here.
Nothing new. Like that's for sure.
Josh,
However-
I want to know,
Yeah.
like, so you and Francine are both doing it. Tell me how this works in a household of 4 children.
Well, I do it. I wake up way earlier than her, so I wake up just like 30 minutes before I used to, so that I can do it.
So you do it first thing.
Yes,
You wake up,
I do it
meditation.
immediately, and my morning one's usually way less impactful than
Same.
my middle of the day one,
Same.
because the thoughts, because I have things I'm about to do.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm
Right.
about to get things going for work for the kids, like lunches to make, all those things, and so it's sort of a battle of my waking mind. What it normally always does is like, okay, task, because I'm a task guy. I'm like always going.
Same exact thing. Where
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. Like I find the same way. If I wake up first thing, meditate, it's just thoughts upon thoughts upon
Yeah.
thoughts. If I'm awake for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I've had coffee, maybe the dogs are out, and then I do it. It's a much easier. I have a much easier experience. So I don't know if I'm
Mine is
supposed
different.
to.
You've
Yes.
shared that before, and
Yeah.
that's what I've started
I don't
to
know
do.
if I'm
like-
supposed to do it in the time
Yeah.
that it's challenging or do it in the time it's easeful.
Right.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
Yeah.
that's a thought. That's one of the thoughts I have is like, because I think of like, oh, that's part of the challenge of meditation. Like, it's like, this is, and it's like, since I just started this version of it, it's like, I haven't woken up and meditated pretty
Yeah.
much ever in my life, like, and so
yeah, I love the consistency.
I've been
of it,
wired
to actually do it.
to like get up and go. Like,
Yeah.
all right, what do we got to do? Like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
so many things. So it's like, I think that my working mind is like, wait, you're
are we
just
doing?
not moving? Like when normally you are moving. And so that's like but it is, since I feel grateful that I've done meditation in the past, because I think that people can fall into like, I'm not doing it right. And that can become the thought, and that
Yeah.
thought is like paralyzing, because then
Yeah.
where are you going from there?
Yeah.
But since I've practiced before, where it's like there's kindness to the thought, and the way that they explained it in our training, which was, it really helps, that is where it's like, from what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's like a cycle to the falling into the thought
Oh, yeah.
and coming back, right? And so you start at the mantra, you fall off of it, like, and then you find your way back. But what's happening is, it's like, she said, it was like releasing, you're releasing fatigue, you're releasing stress. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
and those little moments, and that's why, for me, the dream part of it is so funny, because it's like, some of them are like, I had one of them yesterday was Joaquin Phoenix was my grandpa.
Nice.
He was my grandpa.
That's amazing.
And I was like, what? Like, and and it was like an instant, like, where I knew intrinsically.
It's almost like you
that he
believe
was
it to be true.
Well, it's like I knew
some
he was my
alternate
grandpa.
reality
Yes, I
or
knew.
something where it's like, okay.
And so then I come back to my mantra, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? What is that release? Like,
Right.
what was that release? Like, and then I think like, well, that's for later. Like, if I can remember that is even something that happened, because I usually come out of it, and it usually happens like 4 or 5 times throughout it. Like, I fall into 4 or 5 separate waking dreams. And it's funny, because I just got this like Whoop, like this like trainer thing, because my Apple Watch got broken by my sons and shattered. Yeah. So but it's very cool, because this is a much better, like, it reads your vitals much better than like the Apple Watch does. And I did TM with it on, and it's so cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool, the data that shows from it. And Francine makes fun of me because I'm such like I don't know why, it's like a sports science nerd thing, where it's like, I love to see like the strain and like the recovery, how well did I sleep, that kind of stuff. And it's like, you can see it. It's literally exactly what I experience, where when I fall into the dream part, my heart rate goes down to like 45, 46. Wow. And then once I remember and I go back to the mantra, it comes back up to like 65. And then like as I fall, it like slowly falls back down, jolts back up.
So
slowly
cool.
And it's like, it is exactly what I experienced. And so it's so cool, because all I'm doing is thinking one word, like that I don't know what it means, like, and I'm just like, okay, like, and
Have
then
you remembered it? Because there was like,
there was a few days where I was like,
he was like, I don't even know.
I
We
don't
got there, and he's
remember.
like, I don't know my word.
I don't remember.
I have no idea.
I had no idea. I just been saying,
I forgot it
what
the
I thought
first
it was.
time. She's like, go ahead and repeat it. I'm like,
yeah.
yep.
So I came
It's
back.
like I had it for those
Yeah.
20 minutes, I swear.
Well, and I did it. I did the practice, but I just didn't remember exactly what the word was. So I made something up that was sort of close. I was I was sort of close.
loved
but,
that.
She did. She laughed pretty hard. Then she was like, okay, that's one way to
She's
do
like,
it.
we'll get you checked.
Yeah, she reminded me.
Because she said not to write it down or anything of that nature.
That's why.
it's
So I was like, all right, and then even now, every time I start, I'm like,
Is this it?
is that it again?
It's amazing.
Is that the pronunciation she said? And it doesn't matter. Then I think doesn't matter.
and like you're
Doesn't matter.
whispering it to her. I'm like, do you know if I'm saying the right word? Because like I'm very whispering as well.
But yeah, so that's my experience. And Francine does it, in her schedule because she's got to teach and follow like that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I do it as early as I can in the middle of the day because I want the benefit. Like it's like
Yeah.
I feel so clear after.
Did you do it yet today?
No, I didn't get
Not
to.
yet.
Can't
I
wait.
did it right before.
I did a little.
was
What
like-
is she called? Jetpack. I did a little
Little
jetpack,
jetpack.
little 10-minute action.
Yeah.
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 So that works too because it's
Well,
like
and I found out at one of the group checking that we went to that when you're retired, you get to do it 3 times a day.
Really?
And I'm like,
lucky.
I feel like I could do it 3 times a day.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny. I was like,
We
can I
need
just
to
do it
have a
again?
zoom in
Like,
of all of your faces at that point. Just, no, I'm just mentioning that.
And I was just like, why? Like, why did they get to do it?
That's so funny. That's
I'm
what,
a Nana. Does that count?
once you get your AARP card.
Right,
That's
right.
once you get
Get your
start getting the
AARP
magazines
card.
in the
You
mail.
can
Time number
you can
3.
TM 3 times a day now.
You can
You'll
TM
get
3 times.
You'll get a
It's
you'll get
officially
a
sanctioned
official,
TM.
Yes, that's right.
notification. They'll come to your door.
Yeah,
So-
it's funny business.
It is funny. I have a question. Well, Josh, you sort of were talking about this about the lucid dreaming, the kind of play in your mind that
Yeah.
happens. Do you often? I mean, it sounds like once you realize, you go back to the mantra. That happens to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like a bad meditator because I cheat and I just say, you know what, I'm going to be in this little daydream I have and just write it out.
Oh, I wish I
know-
could.
I know I'm supposed to go back to the mantra, but I'm just going to be like, I wonder where this is going to go.
I would have asked Joaquin so many questions. If I could do that, because that's like lucid dreaming. Because I dream every night. I dream every night.
Do you really?
No matter
Yeah.
what. Every night I
I
dream.
same. I do lucid dream as
For
well.
real?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, it's like it is because it's so nonsensical. Like
Holy
my
cow.
dreams are they're crazy.
See, my favorite part about that story is in where my brain goes immediately. The story I make up about that is Joaquin Phoenix is also doing TM at the same
Maybe
time.
he
Oh,
is.
And the two of you get together
And he saw
hang
me as
out.
his grandson.
And he's like,
"Son, I'll
hello,
take
grandson.
you on.
And then he wakes up and
Come TM
he
with me.
comes out of his TM practice and he turns, to his friend or whoever and is
Lady
just like,
Gaga. Who's
this guy?
turns to, yeah. And he's like, I saw my grandson in my TM meditation.
I must
All
find
grown
him.
up. He's
All
all
right,
grown
he's
up.
all grown up.
Hashtag
I look good though. I
Joaquin
look the
Phoenix.
same. I still look like me. My grandson is in his mid-30s.
Yeah, it's this guy.
Come to Yoga Farm Ithaca.
I don't want to scoot past what I just witnessed here. And when Sabrina kind of mimicked or was Joaquin Phoenix in that little bit, were you doing Joaquin Phoenix
channeled-
as
I
Johnny
channeled.
Cash and Walk the Line? She's like,
Yes.
come here, son.
You know what happened when
Good
I
job.
actually did that? I was like, I don't even think that's his voice. I was like, I don't know whose voice that was.
Hey,
It was for that movie.
It was for that
yes, it
movie.
was for that
Really?
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
See,
That's true.
these things happen. My
Yeah.
channeling has been
There we go.
really elevated. Ever
Has your
since
Reiki
TM.
shifted too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Oh, I was
just want to
gonna
do
ask you
more
that.
of all of it. I just
Mhm.
feel like that's what I'm supposed to or meant to be doing at this time.
Is more
with all-
Reiki.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All more energy work. For me, I do have those thought bubbles that come in the sense of the things to do. But this thing happens. I stay with the mantra and that thought wave keeps riding out, but it's like a whole story and it's all done. It just completes. Oh, I have to do this after. It's done. And I'm like, oh, I'm already done with that. So it's this sense of everything is already played out. Everything's okay. And then when I come out of it, it's yeah, I don't know. In a sense, I already did that, of course. So it feels different when I go to do it.
It's like rehearsal.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah.
As your boss.
Stop working
stop
in your
doing it.
meditations.
No, it just
You
does.
do
But I'll tell you, things
come
happen.
out of it and remember the things
Oh, yes.
that you
Yeah.
haven't done, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do them even better.
Like, well, that was some interesting professional development.
Yeah, I taught her to
Now
not
I'm
do it.
waiting. I'm waiting for the day when I do come out and it's done.
I'm waiting for the day where you're like, Jeannie,
And
I
I'm
did
like-
it in TM. I don't know why it didn't translate in the real world.
Yeah. So for me, I've also been really, I shared this with you both earlier. I've been really connected to like the elements in all of my TMs. It's just like I astral project and I go somewhere and I'm like in the sky. I go deep into the depths of the ocean, and that it just has been really interesting. I sometimes can't remember, but I'm like, wow, that was very profound.
Wow.
And what it means, I don't know, but I've felt really connected with nature. Jessica and I, right before I came here to the studio for a podcast, it was like about that time. So I was like, all right, we're going to do it. She's like, what are we doing? I said, we're going to TM just to get it in, because I teach after this, and then we have that share tonight, and I drive home and all things. So I was like, if I don't do it now,
You're gonna run out of time.
it does feel like that.
I
So I was
feel
like,
like
I'm
that
going to do
too.
it now. So we did it. And I was like, afterwards, I'm like, did you hear that plane? Like, it must have been like right over the sky. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, your bell outside. It was like someone was out there and like ringing it. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And to me, like, that could be a distraction, but in that time, it's like, it's just like an awareness. Like I'm so deep within myself. It's like I see and I feel all of that happening around me. And yet I'm still like right here in the present. It takes me to such a deep place of presence that I feel everything is just happening. And by everything, I mean, like, I'm sending energy out to people. I'm like visiting people in other I don't know what's happening, but check back with me in maybe a week or so. See if I'm doing okay.
See if Joaquin pops up.
And I'm so curious, like, of course, this is just listening to everybody's experiences. So, like, now I'm like, first of all, I want to hear about everybody's experiences regularly. Because I can't help but hear dominant elements in meditation experiences. Like your meditation is busy.
Yeah.
Is
Oh, yeah.
pitta. It is a
is.
very
It is
pitta
pitta.
meditation.
Oh,
100% it is.
Even though
yes.
you're seated, you're still, you're bringing it back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your meditation sounds very vata, very airy and very
Yeah.
flowy, and you're talking about the sounds and the wind and the, I go so deep. Like, I actually feel like I'm diving inside myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that deep ocean is within me.
Mhm.
I am very rarely, and I say rarely because sometimes the dogs act like complete turds when we're trying to meditate. That's why I was like, what is it like to meditate in your house?
Oh, I know.
Because
yeah.
Lincoln
After people are
is
sleeping.
just out of control when we're meditating. I'm like,
Yes.
really? You need to drink
Yeah, let's
for
talk about
7 minutes while I'm meditating?
Like he knows.
we'll talk about the animals after, because I've had some very interesting experiences with
Where
the
do you
dogs.
feel like you go?
yeah. What about
So
Feel like it's a kapha meditation? Like
maybe, because I mean, some of the thoughts. Well, first of all, I discovered today I've been resisting meditating, like sitting on the floor, like on a cushion, and like sitting up, because I'm like, oh, I don't have to. I can just sit in a chair and kind of like,
Lean
because
back.
we have a old rocking chair in one of our rooms, so I just sometimes sit there, or I'm sitting up in bed, and I was resisting it, and I this morning when I did it, I sat on the cushion, and it was like I had like 2 or 3 like brain realizations, like, oh, here's this brilliant idea I should have that just like came to me.
Cool.
I was like, crap, I gotta meditate like this for now.
Gotta sit on the ground
Yeah, I
now.
know.
Rats.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I like the idea, like when I close my eyes, it's like the removal of the stimulus and myself as a physical kind of being. I'm like, I mean, it's my opportunity to be consciousness and not like I am not the physical, or the physical and me are the same. Like me and this
Right.
table are the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or I am not just this shell. I am not just the thoughts. I am.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where sometimes it starts. Like I had this one time on the golf course. I had this, like, it was after the training. I was playing in the morning, and I had this moment. Like I was on a green on like the 14th hole. I'm like, I'm no different. I am not different or separate from these trees.
That's right.
I'm not separate from the ground.
No.
we are all the same. We are all energy. And then I sunk like a 15-foot putt. Swear to God. I was just like, huh, boink. And I kind of did look around like,
Exactly.
nobody saw that.
It'll have you questioning, like, am I becoming really sane, or like, like,
One of the
what
things-
is happening? I swear I'm outside talking to the birds in the trees, and I know you guys won't think I'm weird, but like, there's this new
I mean, we will,
squirrel.
but we still love you.
I know, thank you. It's this whole squirrel living in the tree, and like, they're like,
Matt has a fox friend now.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. On the
Okay.
walk we do when we go to the cemetery, 3 or 4 times I've seen a fox just trotting around. So,
I have a heron friend.
nice.
Yeah, see, all of
See
us
him
have
every
these
day.
new.
Yeah, it's
Of
amazing.
course, mine would be a squirrel. Really?
Squirrels are amazing.
Squirrels are amazing.
Great.
I love squirrels.
But like one experience this morning when I did it, I don't know if I had the thought or something about like the time I have in my day and what I want to accomplish every day, basically. And then like, I hate to use the word downloaded, but it's more of just like, well, if I want to have this time to do this thing, but I have to do these other things. And then like a whole like idea to like of a schedule just appeared to me. I'm like,
Cool.
oh, well, if I just do this day.
Yeah,
then
that's
this
what I'm
and this
talking
and this.
about. And it's
Clarity.
like everything is just
Clarity.
laid
It was-
out.
It's clear.
It was
You
so,
don't
yeah.
need to think about it after or worry about it. It's like already like laid out for you.
It was it was so clear and so and like I had never once had the conscious thought about like, well, what should I do? And the thought it was just like it just appeared and it was there, full form.
So, in the tradition, what this refers to, this experience, is like when you do your practice, you're watering the roots of your being. And so like you don't have to worry about how the leaves are getting made. You just have to water the roots.
because you have a
And
solid,
the leaves will get made. You know, like the tree knows what it's supposed to do, right? So in Vedic tradition, it would be called one thing, and in Christian tradition, it'd be called another. It's like this
nutrition. Like
it's like this is what is the word? What is the word for it? It's determined. Like all of the potential
Predestination.
It's already
and
set.
everything.
of growing an apple tree exists within the seed. Like, so you just need to plant it in the ground and tend to it. We have been planted, like here we are, like we've forgotten essentially that we just need to tend to the roots. We just need, and then the rest of everything is going to take care of itself. And that doesn't mean like, I don't have to pay my bills. Like, it doesn't
no, you
mean that.
remember to do it.
It means, it means like your life, like kind of like all falls into a rhythm and a
and
place.
it feels differently, right? Where some things you might have been stressed out or anxious about before, I feel like then I go to do them and it's like, yeah, it's just like what's already been laid out. That's what I'm to do.
I mean, and as far as like being a student, so I'm in this doctoral program, and like I think I read and I'm going to preface this by saying I'm very comfortable writing papers. I am very comfortable reading. Like I read really quickly. And even that, like I had to read a chapter in a textbook last night, and you went out into the kitchen and I read that chapter and retained it. Like that's the key
That's
part.
the key. Yeah, right.
And retained it
Yeah, well, we read the same book. I have to read.
so fast.
I have to read so much longer than you.
Yeah.
I read so slow.
And the paper that I wrote, like I was stressing about it, and like, oh, I have to write this paper. I get it in, and like it has to be in this particular way, in this particular style, and I went back to citations and bibliographies and APA style, which I'm not familiar
APA.
with because I am a history student, so that's Chicago style. And so I had all of this like pent up energy around it, and then I sat down and wrote like 8 pages, and it needed to be a 4-page paper. So then I was like,
Wow.
okay, I gotta pull it back. I gotta
gonna be
like
great for
I
your
gotta
book.
Well,
do
I was gonna
some-
say,
I know.
Yeah, it's
Don't-
gonna be
I
great.
know.
Don't pull back or close those floodgates. Keep them going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then have Matt be your editor. He can kind of like trim it up.
That's right.
My first experience with Carol, like when we did the whole ritual, and which maybe we could kind of touch back on what we're talking about ritual with that. But I was like going so deep into the depth of my own being, and then it felt like just as that, like I was growing roots and I was nurturing my being. And then all of a sudden, then it was like, okay, now you can, I don't know, just the word that comes to me right now is ascend. Now you can, and then it just felt like I was going up, 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 and immense. I just became so immense. And then all of a sudden, all these, it was like a movie scene, like, what is it, Back to the Future or Star Wars, on the screen where the words are going like this. All of these words start coming towards me, and I was like, I don't know what any of this says. And when I say this, it's not thoughts, or it's not, it's just happening, and you're just
like you're watching
you're watching.
You're just aware of it.
Yep.
And all of these words, and ever since then, every meditation I have is like some sort of word download or something of that nature. I was reading backwards in my one yesterday. It was like I was reading from page right to left and reading right to left.
Which is the correct way in a lot of languages.
Yeah.
So
Islam,
I don't know what was
Hebrew,
happening.
I
But,
think
Hebrew, yeah.
but that's, to me, I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Show me more of that.
Yeah, seriously.
And I have this. So yeah, there's like an initiation ritual ceremony that brings you into the practice, which I don't know if this is different for different people depending on who their trainer is. Like, I just kind of stood there
Yeah.
and watched it unfold. I didn't really have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I also didn't know what was going on. However, I know enough Sanskrit words
Yeah.
that I could understand some of the words that she was saying. I found out later on in a class that all that is a gratitude practice. That's all. It's just giving thanks.
To the teachers, right?
Yeah, it's just.
and I think that's why there's
for the
offerings.
lineage,
Like
thanks
there's
for the
offerings of
practice,
flowers, offerings
thanks to
of
the
fruit.
universe, thanks to bringing this practice into the manifest, into present time. So you don't have to do anything crazy to initiate.
Yeah, I was
into
just
the
like, maybe
practice.
we should just circle back around to that.
You have to steal your rival school's mascot.
and put it on the roof.
I'm like, where would we be going? We'll talk about that another time. But
Any other final thoughts? Any other things you wanted to say but didn't yet?
The last thing that I want to say as we wrap this up is, because Sabrina needs to teach, is that there is an initiative right now around TM. So the Transcendental Meditation Organization, which is a nonprofit organization, is trying to get a lot of meditation happening. There's an impetus around world peace. There's an impetus around the environment, and some studies in math that they've done around people coming together in meditation and how that changes the vibration of the world. So there's
possible.
A huge push.
I feel it.
Yeah. Which means that right now, I think only until like the 11th of November, trainings are 50% off.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So there's trainings. There's training
Everywhere.
facilities
Yeah.
everywhere.
If
There's
you-
places everywhere.
If you Google Transcendental Meditation, chances are the first hit will be the official TM site.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
tm.org.
You type in your zip code and see your closest
Yep.
trainer to you.
and it will hook you
I
up.
love meditating with groups, and whether it's in person or online, I just feel that power behind that.
Me
Yeah.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
So
You know what's cool? At the next staff meeting, whenever that is,
we'll all get
Yes.
to do it together.
save your
We
afternoon
will.
meditation.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll
We
do
will.
it then.
Yep. Yep.
That would be
It's
great.
We'll
like-
end staff meditation. We'll end staff meeting with meditation.
I love
Yeah.
it.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I'm so psyched. Like, I know I've been talking everyone's ear off about it for a
Yeah.
couple months,
Yeah.
but I am also super psyched to hear how everyone's experience is similar and very different from mine.
And they do
forget.
say, like, generally, like, you don't talk about
Your
what you
experience.
experience during meditation because it will have someone believe like, oh, they're not doing it right. I didn't have that experience. But, this is really something where we're all doing it together. And, I think we've gone through enough training where we can share our experience and
accept.
without and
Yeah.
accept,
That
no judgment.
everyone's experience is gonna be different and everything.
Yeah.
We're different people.
That's
Yeah.
what it
Different
is.
brains.
Yeah.
I love your point about like
So,
the
yeah.
pit to the like all
Yeah.
the different.
Yep.
So that's brilliant. Hey, yeah,
Okay.
check out TM, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. For Wi-Fi Pod, this is Matt.
This is Jeannie.
This is Sabrina.
And this is Joshua.
Thanks, everyone.
Ooh, ooh.